Welcome back, gang. It's Deltia from Deltiasgaming.com. Arcanist is here. I can finally show you footage of dueling and how the build works in PvP. So what I want to show you is break you down kind of what to expect when this class launches in June 5th on PC, what the strengths and weaknesses of the class are in PvP. It has a lot of control, a lot of status effect damage over time. Bombing is going to be very, very good. So check the links in the description below. We're going to have builds ready to go June 5th when this thing launches. And just remember, Mid-Year Mayhem is going to be the end of June. So as soon as you get your Arcanist leveled, tuned up, there's going to be a PvP event that's going to absolutely blow up the server with the beams. Let me explain how the class works. And if you get anything out of it, hit that thumbs up, leave me a comment. Let's get started. So the Arcanist for PvP, what do you need to know and why? Let's start with the basics and go over the class skill lines, the defensive skills, how you heal, how you do damage, and why I think it's so strong. Number one is actually your burst heal you get early on. Evolving Rune Man, there's a couple of different morphs from this, but the cost is going to be determined by your max resource. So playing as a stamina build, it's kind of hard sustaining this because you have your burst skill, well, by max stamina, not magic. So you kind of have to have some ways to offload your magic cost to actually burst heal and survive using this build. And you're going to see that a lot. The real good way to play this is kind of a stamina-based weapon to get back resources when you're heavy attacking, and then maybe a magic-based weapon to get back resources by heavy attacking, and you maybe even a monster helm to actually sustain you, like Engine Guardian, that Roscoe's the new monster helm. So this is kind of your burst heal that you can use predominantly in PvP. Whatever your max resource is. On my bar, on my back bar, I actually have two. So I have this and I have Resolving Vigor. Might be redundant, but using these back to back, you have a good burst heal option. So this is coming from the healing skill line. Now, what I also like and what you should be aware of is something in here. It's kind of like the Templar placing your house, right? What this does is it basically gives you major courage and or allies. You can use a heal over time one, or you can use a morph where when you step out of it, you still get minor courage. So that's going to be fantastic for solo or group players getting access to minor courage very easily with this. Apocryphal Gate is kind of your mobility tool that actually comes from your healing skill line. This actually isn't that strong for PvP in its current form. It's also bugged. So first thing you have to do with it, you have to click the ability, right? And then you have to place it on the ground, as you can see. So this is the furthest it can go, right? So I'm going to place it here. Now you'll see I actually have a cooldown. I literally can't cast the ability again. And I go through it. And yes, I can go through it again. In its current form, though, it's bugged, where you actually can't use it for the group members to have a bunch of group members follow you through, so we can't really test it out. But if I use this as an escape tool, I can't actually cast it again. It has a cooldown. So in its current form, it's more or less kind of a niche skill to use in it, and when it gets fixed, hopefully it'll have some mobility with your group. But right now, it's kind of goofed up and kind of not that useful to use. So that's kind of like the basics of the back bar survivability. Now, the offensive or the other defensive skills that you have are fantastic from the tank line. Absolutely god tier. So if this here Cruxweaver's armor, what this does is it gives you your major resolve, so your armor buff almost mandatory you have to use in PvP. And when you take damage, it applies minor breach, reducing armor, and then blows against your armor also generate cruxes up to once every 5 seconds. So when you're getting beat on, it passively builds cruxes up. So cruxes is kind of like your main ability dump. What you do is you build up cruxes through a main spamble and that armor skill or some other ways. You can get up to a total of 3. And then you'll see my number 2 skill light up. And when that lights up, you can use it, and it basically debuffs enemies in an AoE. And all of your passives pretty much are based on building up and expending cruxes. So like here's one example. Increase crit damage and crit healing by 12% when you gain or spend a crux, 7 seconds. You can kind of constantly maintain that. So how you sustain, how you do damage is by maintaining, building, and spending crux. So you need a crux generator and you need a crux dump to take advantage of all those really important passives. And so this does it for you passively, the Cruxweaver armor, and it gives you a buff and it gives a debuff when you're taking damage. Absolutely phenomenal. Next skill I absolutely love is Rune Guard of Freedom. What this does, it puts a buff on you, minor resolve and minor protection. When you drop below 50%, you basically consume minor protection and it gives you a massive burst heal. It scales off of your health, 3,000 armor, and crowd control immunity for 6 seconds. Now, the immunity can only occur every 30 seconds, but basically you can just keep maintaining this. So when you drop below, it's like an oh crap, get out of jail free card and you can't be CC'd. Pairing these two together are absolutely no-brainer in PvP for defensives. Absolutely god tier for PvP. And so that's kind of like my back bar. Also, you have, this is the tank skill line, so you have a tank ultimate. Very, very good for survivability. This class has built-in shields through the tank ultimate, and also this max health shield ability right here. So you can build in shields, kind of like a Sork actually, and it doesn't have to have specific armor choices, which is kind of unique. Also, this ability can be used as a main spammable Runic Jolt. You can take this morph, doesn't hit very hard, but it's great when you're leveling or just starting out because it deals damage and it also heals. And while slotted, you take 2% less damage per crux. Not ideal for a main spammable. If you want something that heals as a main spammable, it's an option. Last ability on here is called Rune of Colorless Pool. This is like an absolute god mode fossilize from the Dragonite. So number one, it's 15-meter range. Number two, it lasts 4 seconds. It's single target. It paralyzes, aka stuns them. So like a 1 second delay. It's almost like you can't break free right away. I don't know what they did with the coding with this stun. It's like, it's gonna be just obnoxious, like the most obnoxious stun in the game probably. Also, it applies minor vulnerability and minor brittle for 20 seconds. It's absolutely insane. It cannot be dodged. It's 15 meters. So this is kind of like the Dragonite, how I set my bar up, very similar to a Dragonite. My CC control ability with Fossilize, here it is. My armor buff, it generates Cruxes, here it is. An oh crap panic button heal when I drop below 50%, here it is. And then 2 basic heals, okay? So stick with me, I have Elemental Susceptibility, it will make more sense as to why. And then we get to the damage dealing aspect of the class. Now you actually have a lot of options. So Exhausting Fate Harbor, you have 2 morphs here. I actually don't think this is very good for PvP. We just got done with some Battlegrounds and dueling. 4.5 second channel. When in PvP can you sit there AFK for 4.5 seconds in channels? Oh wait. Never. Maybe when you're on top of a keep and you're, you know, XV1ing a player with 30 other AD bow users, maybe. But you can bash this. Someone can stun you. You're not getting healing when you're sitting there doing this. So it looks cool. It's the big massive laser beam skill. I'll show you here. And you also have to aim it. So there's no tracking with this. You have to aim this. So yeah, maybe in Cyrodiil and a keep, you're just sitting there absolutely beaming people, but against high-level skilled players, it's really hard to get that off. I typically don't recommend that, but so you don't have to. Take it off your bar if you're having trouble using it. It does hit very, very hard, but there's so many counters to it. Just line of sight, CC, bash the person, run away. Very, very easy to get away. Now you have your single target or AoE choice for your main spammable that you can or cannot use in your class kit. Because we have a way of passively generating Cruxes when we're taking damage with our armor. But this is a way you can do on-demand generation of Cruxes. It's 22 meters. It's going to scale off your highest resource. So for me, stamina in this particular build. Check the link in the description below for all these builds that we have, and they'll be templated out, and we'll change them over the PTS cycle. But this thing hits decently hard, not too bursty. You're really just using this to build up Cruxes and dump it for the debuff on Tentacular Dread. Tentacular Dread also immobilizes, so you can see the aspect of control very similar to Dragonite, right? Dragonites have talents. Well, this has an AoE immobilize. Dragonites have Fossilize. Well, this has a very good single target stun. Very, very similar in the way I set up my bar. So this is my main spammable, similar to Whip. Doesn't hit as hard, but you can build up Cruxes and it does pretty good. And then you have like basically a way to generate resource ability. This gives major brutality and major sorcery, increasing weapon and spell damage for 20%, regardless of what bar you slot it on. It also every 5 seconds pulsates and it allows your class abilities to do a little bit more damage, and it restores resources and generates Cruxes if you have none. So technically, you wouldn't even have to use this Withering Rune Blade. You could use Wrecking Blow. You could use basically just Rending Slashes if you want and freed up your bar space, because those two abilities will build up Cruxes, and then you can dump the Cruxes and use them with Tentacular Dread to proc all of your passives. You have tons and tons of weapon choices with this build and in particular playstyle, and that's what absolutely is amazing about PvP. You have some of the best passives, some of the best active skills, and you don't have to use a stupid beam if you don't want to. This ability here, Rune of Displacement, is actually like a ground-based AoE, but it sucks in enemies within 8 meters. Essentially, you have a built-in Dark Convergence. Hello, bombing. Yes, Rune of Displacements, pulling in foes within 8 meters after a 2-second delay. It's made for bombing, dude. So it's absolutely fantastic. And that's kind of the build that I have centered. Now, well, I have elemental susceptibility, so yes, the meta stuff, you know how to use it, right? So I'm using Mara's Bomb. There's a couple new mythics that are really broken. There's a couple new gear sets. I'm actually not using that. I'm using the old, same old stuff. So I'm using Master's Weapons, which hit extremely hard, and let me explain why. You don't know what Master's Weapons, they come from Dragonstar Arena, right? They're just absolutely obscenely strong on any build, but it's even more obscenely strong on this build. So Twin Stashes deals more damage per tick, and it's a bleed. So the bleed can proc hemorrhage status effect. So with the weapons, the dual wield, you see this Rending Slash. Causes bleed damage, and it applies the hemorrhage status effect. Why is that so important? It is the only class that has this passive. Increase damage with status effects by 15%. This is so noticeable, having enchants to charge trade on your weapons, both PvE and PvP. Absolutely mind-numbing damage here. And then you go to the back bar, guess what I have? Battleground back bar, Battleground Hollows, shocker, the current meta, what pretty much all the sweats are using. This cast weakening the element, creates a beam, does ramped up damage. Now, the skill that you're going to be using is Elemental Susceptibility, which is going to rotate through status effects, burning, shield, concuss. Plus, you combine that with the hemorrhage status effect and bleed damage. You have so much pressure on a single target, it's absolutely insane. Not to mention if you use the Marsalok Monster Helm. And basically the premise I'm getting to you here is, it's basically in its current form, in my opinion, is a gassed up Dragonite right now. It feels like heavy status effects, heavy dot pressure. Like the Dragonite, you can use kind of different weapon choices if you want to play in range or melee, and do very, very well. So I kind of built it just like the Dragonite initially, and it's absolutely fantastic. It has built-in AoE and built-in range, what the Dragonite really does not have because you have to use Molten Whip. So initial thoughts and impressions are, it's absolutely fantastic. The mobility is a bit slow though, because the Apocryphal Gate doesn't necessarily work the way I'd like it to work. So you have to kind of counterbalance that with maybe Psijic Order Race Against Time or Vampire Elusive Mist. Also, resource sustain can be a really big problem. So I've used Smoke Bear Haunch and food. And then also this new Monster Helm here. It's kind of like a gassed up Engine Guardian, if you will. So if you're ever struggling with resource sustain, go into that. The hybridization will make this a little bit different for you to use, especially if you're a stamina user. You're going to want to find skills and morphs that are based on magic. It's like this Tentacular Dread, it's magic. If all of your skills are stamina, you're going to have a very hard time sustaining on this class. If you have a couple that are stamina, a couple that are magic, it makes things go a lot smoother for you for resource sustain. So Smoke Bear Haunch, that Monster Helm are the way to go. As far as ultimates go, these look fantastic, this damage dealing one, but it's 200 ulti cost, and right now it just doesn't work. It has to track the target. One morph's supposed to track the target. It doesn't work very well, and most of the time you can just get out of it and avoid it. This gives you a massive damage shield. Amazing. It's kind of like a barrier individually. You can have the other morph that like does damage and another one that helps teammates out, but it's great for solo survivability. Another reason why this is so fantastic is you can use whatever back bar weapon that you want. You don't have to use a restoration staff or a sword and board if you want, and survive very, very well with it. And then you have the healing ulti. This isn't that good that I've used in PvP. It's really stationary, so didn't find it useful when I could just use the tank ultimate and go about it that way. So again, I'll show you some gameplay footage here in a little bit later, but you have the control of a Dragonite. You have these unique buffs and debuffs. And speaking of that, the unique debuff, or the unique buff you get is minor evasion here. Casting a Arcanist ability gives you minor evasion for 20 seconds, so reducing AoE damage. You can combine that with the medium armor skill as well and get major evasion, really reducing your AoE damage taken. But early opinions on the Arcanist and where we're at right now, I highly recommend maybe not using the beam until it gets a heal or some way where it can be interrupted and channeled. And right now you can free up your weapon choices, lean into those status effects, lean into maybe 2 or 3 heals along with that CC immunity. You have great control, great survivability, a little bit weak on the mobility, which you can solve by outside skill lines. But if this goes live like this, built-in bomber, crazy status effects, absolutely insane. So what I'm going to leave you with is some gameplay showing you what it looks like actually in combat. And again, check the links in the description below. Early look at this. We'll update you in June when it goes live. Hit that thumbs up, leave me a comment, and check me out on twitch.tv/Deltiasgaming, where my mom claims I'm the best streamer alive. Thanks for watching.
that.